All right. Hello, everyone. How is everybody today? I am just getting some nails ready to go, and we will jump in here in just a few seconds, give everybody a little chance to get their notifications, make sure everybody is joining us today. And I am going to pull up my chat on here so I can see what you guys are up to. And then we'll get started in just a second or so. So welcome in, everybody. Hope you're all having an amazing day today. All right, here we go. All right. So I've got my nails ready to go. I've got some colors out here that we're going to be working with. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the sale already. We've started the sale today. Actually, started the sale yesterday. So we've got a great sale going on. If you haven't seen that already, make sure that you do jump over to our website, youngnails.com, and we've got lots of great deals, lots of great things happening for you guys today. All right. Just going to start by cutting my nails a little bit shorter today. I think we're probably only going to do one nail, but let's go ahead and shorten up our second one here just in case we need to use that. And then we'll get started here. Guys, give me just a second. I'm trying to get my chat pulled up here so I can see what you guys are chit-chatting about, and I want to make sure that I am seeing all of your comments. I do try to look at the chat as we go through here. I try to answer some questions if I can, but for some reason my chat is not opening up here today. So hopefully that will come in here. Otherwise, you guys, let's go ahead and get started, and maybe as we get started, maybe my chat will start running here. But welcome in, everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a great day today. Hopefully you've already started shopping on our March sale here, but if you haven't already, then maybe you haven't seen all of the fun new colors that we have for you with our acrylics. So this is a new set of colored acrylics that we've got for you. Let me come in a little closer there. So I've just swatched out the colors on the top of my jars. I like to put those on the top just so I can see what colors I'm working with and what colors I've got. So for me, that's just an easy way to see what I've got and see what I'm working with. So just a fun thing that I like to do. You can swatch them out on your practice nails and things like that. That works great as well. But this is just something that's a little bit easier for me. So let's see here, you guys. Again, I'm still trying to get my chat, my live stream chat up here, so I'm not sure what's happening, but hopefully you guys are able to see the chat, and we'll get started here. You guys give me just 1 second here real quick. Let me see if I can restart and get my chat going. All right, you guys. Well, we're going to hope for the best here. I'm not able to see my chat just yet, but that's okay. I'm just going to keep on going and we'll hope for the best here. But I was telling you guys, I've got some great new colors I'm going to show you. So let's go ahead and get into prepping our nails, and then I'll actually swatch these out for you guys to see how you can kind of play with the colors and see that way. But let's go ahead and prep our nail here first. And let me grab my magic wand. So I'm going to use the magic wand to push back our cuticles, get those nice and cleaned up. Let's come in nice and close here. So when you're working on a full set, I always recommend going through and pushing back the cuticles on all of the nails just to really get into that routine of pushing back the cuticles and making sure that everything is cleaned up. So always go through all 10 nails, push back your cuticles, get the cuticles in good condition. And then we're going to go in with our sanding band. Now I'm going to actually push that in a little farther. And I'm going to change out my sanding band. So this is an older sanding band. You can see the difference between an older one and a newer one. So I'm going to put a new one on, but you can see the old one, the one that's been used a little bit, that grit has really been worn down. So you always want to make sure that you're putting a new sanding band on there so that you can get that really good grit and you can really clean up that natural nail, and you can also refine that enhancement really well. So always make sure that you are putting on a brand new sanding band so that way you're going to have great results. And I'm going to just slide that right on there. Now you guys, the mandrel underneath here, this is something that you do want to sanitize and disinfect to make sure that everything is going to be clean, sanitary, and ready to go for your client. The sanding band that we put on, that is not sanitizable and disinfectable, so that one you do want to make sure that you are changing out, just like we were talking about. Now, if you are a little concerned, I'm actually going to turn my speed on here, but if you're concerned that that edge of your sanding band is a little bit too sharp, these do come pre-beveled, but if you're concerned about them being too sharp, you can use your file, and I'm just using a 150 grit file. Just tap the edge of that bit or of that sanding band just a couple of times onto that file, and that'll soften up that edge a little bit more so that you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable working up around those cuticle areas and into those little bit more delicate areas. Okay, so you can do that if you feel you need to. And let's see here. All right, let me reposition you. So we're going to just come right up around the cuticle area. I'm going to come up around the cuticle in just short little strokes. So I'm not trying to go all the way around the cuticle area in one motion, just short little strokes, and that's going to get you all the way up around that cuticle and then down those side walls. Once you've come to that sidewall, you're going to basically feather that bit all the way through the free edge, all the way down the sides of those nails, really making sure that all of that shine is removed. Now, if you have edges over maybe on this side here that maybe you didn't quite get all the way down to the side, you can turn your bit and use the top part of the bit to just flow right down that edge. Same thing down along the side down here. You can use the base of the bit to flow down that edge. And then if you need to catch any other areas, just again feathering through those areas. And I think I am going to just shape this nail up a little bit. A lot of times I like to clean up that client's free edge a little bit if I need to. We're not going to worry about making that a perfect shape, but just to kind of clean that up a little bit. It's going to help you in the long run as those nails grow out. And we'll dust off this nail. I'm going to dust all of that dust off there, clean all of that off, get that nail nice and dust free as much as we can. And notice that when I dust and I push my brush down and then back up. I don't go from side to side. Usually what going from side to side is going to do is that's going to push all of that dust down along those side walls. But if you're brushing up and down in this direction, that's going to pull the dust out of those side walls, and it's also going to pull the dust out of that cuticle area. And it's actually going to lift up that cuticle in the back, so that way the cuticle isn't sitting down onto the nail. So I always brush up and down, and then I tend to do one final last brush backwards again to lift up that cuticle area. Okay, so we've got our nail dust free. Then we're going to go in to our swipe. Now, swipe is our cleanser, and we're going to pump a little bit of that onto our manicure brush, and then we'll go through and we'll scrub that nail to really cleanse that surface. Now, you could use one of our lint-free wipes. So let me show you guys that as well. It's a personal preference. I do like to use the manicure brush. I feel like that really helps me to still get a little bit more of that dust off of there. But if you want to use the lint-free wipes, you can just pump a little bit of that swipe onto the lint-free, and then you can go in and you can scrub that as well. So it's a personal preference, whichever one's easier for you. But I do like to use the brush because, again, I feel like I can get all of those little nooks and crannies, and then also I don't have to pay to replace my lint-free wipe. So it's a little bit cheaper. Your manicure brush, that you are going to sanitize and disinfect, but the wipes you are going to throw away. So those do have to be replaced a little bit more often. Now the other thing, and you guys, you can see this on my hands here. Do you see how after touching that swipe with the lint-free wipe, my hands do get kind of dried out? And I don't like to necessarily have my hands dried out like this. And over time, that can over dry your skin. So that's another reason that I do like to use the manicure brush instead of the wipes. But it's a personal preference. Whichever you like to do is totally up to you. And make your choice. Whichever works for you is going to be great. All right, so we've got our nail prepped and cleansed. Next thing we're going to use is our protein bond. So protein bond it works like double-sided tape. So it's a bonder, it's not a primer. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply a nice even coat from cuticle to free edge. Let me come in a little bit closer here. Actually, I think we're good right there. Let's see, there we go. Okay, that'll be a little bit better. So with our protein bond, I like to start in the center of the nail, brush towards the free edge, and then back towards the cuticle area. This way, we're going to get really great application without flooding that product into the cuticle area. So you want to make sure when you're doing any kind of set of enhancements, you're going to do 2 coats of this. So by enhancements, I mean acrylics or hard gels. And today we are working with acrylic, so I'm going to do 2 coats all the way through the nail, just to again make sure that I've got really great adhesion all the way through. All right, next thing we're going to grab is our forms. So we're going to be sculpting our nail today. We're not actually putting a tip on. I know we've been doing a lot of tip applications lately, but today we're going back to some traditional sculpting. And let me open up my forms here. So when we sculpt, we're actually building out a custom nail. So the nail is going to be completely customized. It's not a one-size-fits-most like tips can be. We are actually building this nail out right from our client's nail. So I'm going to take one of my forms. I'm going to peel that off the backing. We're going to take that little tab from the center, and I'm going to just position that right on the back. So what this is going to do, this is going to give my form a little bit more durability and a little bit more of a firm feeling. If you don't put that little tab on the back, your forms tend to feel a little bit more flimsy. So I always put that little tab on the back just for a little bit more durability. And then we're going to take our 2 silver tabs right here at the end. We're going to pinch those together, and we're going to try to get those together as evenly as possible. So you want to make sure that they're coming together nice and even, and they're not like overlapping each other. Let me show you guys what I mean by this. You want to make sure that they're not overlapping and not coming together even. So if you were to pinch your form together like that, rather than evenly together like this is going to make your form, it's actually going to make your nail a little bit lopsided. So we want to make sure again that we're pinching those tabs together nice and even and getting a nice even straight form. Okay. I'm going to open up this little perforation at the top. You can see there's a little perforated edge right up top there. I'm just going to open that up. We're going to open up our form, and then we're going to get this right up underneath the nail. So I'm going to come at a slight downward angle. So I'm not just going straight in and just shoving that right up underneath the nail. I'm going to come from a slight downward angle, bring that up, catch that nail or catch that free edge right up underneath there, and then I'm going to lift up on the end of my form. You're going to lift up until that form comes out nice and straight from that nail, and then you're going to secure that down on the sides. Now this is why I do like to clip my natural nails a little bit shorter, so that I don't have a whole lot of that free edge to really interfere with. Because if you're trying to put a form underneath a really long nail, you're not always going to get the perfect fit to that. So when you're sculpting, I do recommend clipping that nail as short as you can go without cutting into the hyponychium. And that way you're going to get really good adhesion, really good application of your form right up underneath that free edge. Now something else you want to check and make sure is if you take a look straight down the barrel, you want to make sure that there's no gap in between that natural nail and that form. So make sure that there's no gap in between there. Okay. All right. I think we are about ready to go here with our application. Guys, let me just grab a couple other things, a couple other products here. You guys hang on one second. I'm actually trying to see if I can find my chat one more time, but I'm still not able to find that, so we'll just carry on. All right, so we've got our form on there. We're going to be working with acrylic today. So I'm going to work with my Speed Clear, and we're going to build out basically a platform to apply all of our fun colors onto that I'm going to show you in just a second here. I'm going to grab a few of my table towels, and I take my table towels, so the same table towels that I have right down here on my station, I cut those up into smaller pieces. So when I'm working with my acrylics, I like to have a little bit of a stack of these so that as I'm wiping my brush, if that top layer is a little bit saturated with liquid, or if I get acrylic on there, then I can just take that one off, and then I've got another clean space to wipe my brush. So this is just something that helps me when I'm working with acrylic. Now I am going to grab my Dappen dish, and it looks like I've got a little bit of liquid in there from the last time I was working. So I am going to clean that out, and I like to clean off around the edges of my Dappen dish, make sure everything's nice and clean, and then I'll tuck that down in there. And this is another time where I do use my magic wand, and I go in there and I'll just use that little pincher end to kind of grab that table towel and soak up all of that extra monomer, clean out, and you can see I kind of twist that around there, and that's going to help to clean out any little pieces of glitter. I don't know if you guys can see this on here. But yeah, there you go. So there's a lot of glitter and some color that was in there from the last time I used it. So clean that out so that way you're not going to contaminate this set of nails. So always make sure you start with a nice clean Dappen dish and always fresh monomer. Now let me grab my monomer, and I've got my brush. And the brush that I'm going to be using today, this is Greg's Signature Series brush. You can see it is a size 12. It's an oval shape. It does come to a really nice point, but then it does have a little bit more of an oval shape to it. So it's just a really great all-around brush. You can pick up large pearls with it. You can pick up small pearls with it. It really is just a great all-around brush. And I'm going to touch my brush to the top of the bottle. We're going to pour that product down into my Dappen dish. And I think I'm going to just empty out my bottle. I just had a little bit left up in there. All right. So I think we are good to go here. So what we're going to start with is our Speed Clear. And we're going to just build out a platform. So right now I don't have anything on my form. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up, actually let me bring this into camera so you can see. Oh, come on, just a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my Speed Clear and just a small pearl of that. I'm going to drain out the extra liquid because I don't want my product to run. I'm going to set that right down at my free edge, wipe out my brush, and then I'm going to use my brush to press out that free edge from side to side, and then use the edge of my brush to tuck up into those corners. Press in and over. I'm going to bring that all the way over to the other side. Same thing, tuck in on those corners, press that up into that free edge. And then at this point, I can start to use a little bit more pressure, and I'm going to start to bring that product all the way down the length of my form to whatever length I want to create. And I think today, maybe we'll pinch that a little bit shorter. I think we'll maybe do an almond shaped nail today. Well, maybe a little bit of a longer almond. Not quite a stiletto today, but maybe just an almond. So I'm again using the edge of my brush to tuck in those sides to make sure that I've got nice straight lower arches all the way up through that free edge. And then I'm just going to blend out that product a little bit more so that it really tapers off the free edge. I want to make sure my free edge is staying nice and thin and that I don't have any bulk at that free edge. Okay, and it looks like I think I need just a tiny little bit more product right through that center. So I'm going to grab just a little bit more, touch that right down, and fill that in. We'll blend that through. Now I'm going to grab another small pearl, and we're going to apply that right to the nail area. And what this is going to do, this is going to allow us to apply our colored acrylics over the nail without any product bleeding into that natural nail, and it's not going to stain that natural nail, but it's also going to help us when we go to remove this color and file that product off. So this way we only would file down to that layer of clear underneath. We wouldn't actually be filing down to that natural nail. So it gives you a little bit of an easier time when you're changing out your designs. Okay, so I'm just going to set our nail off to the side here at this point, and then I want to show you guys all of these great new colors that we've got. So let me just bring those into camera here. Oops, wrong way. There we go. So colors that we've got. Let's see. I'm going to start with the latest one here. So this one is called Horizon Mist. And you guys, I don't have my labels on here just yet, so I have to go from my little handwritten scroll on the bottom here. But so Horizon Mist is a really pretty soft white with a shimmer to it. It's a really pretty pearly shimmer. There's a little hint of purple in there, a little hint of, let me see if I can come in a little closer. There we go. And you guys, I always tell you that camera does not do these colors justice. So what you're seeing on here, it's going to be more beautiful in person. So I guarantee you that, but just to give you a quick update or a quick swatch on what these colors look like. And then we've got, let's see, Sunkissed Twilight. I think that's what this is called. Sunkissed Twilight is a super bright, sunshiny yellow. I absolutely love this one for summer. I think this is going to be absolutely gorgeous. I think for all of those sunny nails and summery nails, you guys, I think you're going to absolutely love this one. So it's definitely more, like I said, a sunshiny yellow. You can even see it's kind of pulling the pigment out on the paper towel down there, but really just a bright, sunny yellow. And then we've also got, our orange is Citrus Sunset. So this one it's very citrusy, So we're gonna pick up a pearl of that. Kind of a softer orange, not a bright orange, not as bright as the sunshiny kind of yellow, but a softer citrusy. So kind of a tangerine orange. I'm gonna go with that. And then our pink is Pink Inferno. And I absolutely love this one. If you guys like bright colors for the summer, you're going to love this one too. This one is so much fun. Again, it's got a little hint of that purple sparkle to it. So you can kind of see from the side there. All right, so bright and fun. And then the last color that we've got, this is Jade Haze. And this is kind of a smoky green. It's jade. We'll go, it's jade. But kind of a smoky kind of a color is what I'm seeing to it. But absolutely gorgeous. Let me show you guys that one as well. So they all do have sparkle to them, but they all have a little bit of a different sparkle. So you can mix them together if you want to. You can combine them. What I'm going to show you today is just a really quick fade with them. And you can see how well they will come together. So again, I'm just going to grab that table towel, toss that one out. At this point, my product here on my form has started to set. It is a little bit pliable still. I'm going to see if I can remove my form, because sometimes I like to go through, especially when I'm working with the colored acrylics, but I do like to have that clear extension so I can see exactly how my colors are going to look once I do take that form off. So I'm just going to make sure to pinch that product or pull that product away from my form. And I think my product might still be just a little bit soft to remove the form, but we're going to see what we can do without popping that whole extension off. And I'm just using that pointy edge of my magic wand to get right up underneath there. There you go. Now it's starting to set a little bit more, so it's going to release a little bit easier from the form. So again, we'll just make sure that's completely released. And you can see where the product has released from the form and then where it hasn't. But I'm just pinching that form together underneath and pulling that form away very, very gently, because again, at this point, my product is very soft. It is kind of pliable, and I want to make sure that I'm not going to pull this form away from that free edge and rip off that whole entire free edge there. So again, just making sure everything is released, and then we'll pull that form off. All right, I think we're good to go. So let me actually set up my colors here. I've got my white, I've got my green, and when I'm working with colors, I usually will set them out in the order that I want to work with them. So I really have an idea of where I'm going. So I've got my orange color. Actually, maybe I'll set that off to the side over here. And then I've got my pink. So we're going to do just a really quick, fun, easy fade on here. And I'm going to start with, I think I'm going to start with my pink. So we'll grab just a small pearl of the pink. And when you're working with colored acrylics, you want to make sure that you're applying them fairly thin. So this way you're going to have space to where you can cap these with clear. You don't necessarily want to be building up the whole entire nail with the color, because you do need to file a little bit. And if you apply your colors too thick, you're going to end up filing off your design. So you want to apply them in just thin, wet layers here to blend them a little bit better. And just kind of tapping through those. And then just fading out that edge. So again, if you take a look from the side, this is still going to be a really nice thin application, and then we will build up with clear over the top. But you can see how really nice and easy they blend out when you work with them a little on the wetter side. If you feel like you need a little bit more color, maybe you want that pink to blend in a little bit more with the orange, tap another, just a tiny, tiny little wet pearl of each color, and that's going to blend together right there in that seam. So then you're going to have that really pretty ombre from one color to the next. Okay, we're going to go into our yellow. Now the yellow is going to be a little bit more bold, so I think I actually want to pick up a smaller pearl of that and just use that a little bit on the wetter side so that it really just blends into that orange. Maybe just a little bit more on there. But I'm absolutely loving how these colors come together. They do have a little bit of different glitter and sparkle to each color, but they still blend together really nicely. So let's take another little small pearl of that orange, just blending that into the yellow. And then we'll blend in a little bit of the green. Same thing, keeping that pearl fairly wet, blending that right in. Maybe just a little bit more of the green. Blending that in. Again, keeping these colors, keeping these pearls on the wetter side. This is what's going to help them to blend and ombre really nicely. Another small pearl of that yellow to really blend into the green. And I think I actually want a little bit darker with my green. So I'm just going to tap out a little bit of that liquid and keep a little bit, not quite a drier pearl, but by blending out just a little bit of that liquid, that is going to keep a little bit of the color pigment a little bit richer. Same thing, just kind of tapping through, blend out that edge, and then we'll finish on the edge with a little bit of that white pearly color. And again, just blending that in. And guys, you can see how much fun these colors are going to be. You can use all of the colors in your nails. You can pick and choose, but really blending the colors together is a fun option for your summer and your spring nails. I guess we're still in spring now, but I'm going to take just a little bit more of that green to blend that in. All right, I think I like how this looks, so I'm actually going to close up my powders at this point, set those off to the side. As I work, I do try to keep my station as clean as possible so that I'm not prone to spilling things. I actually am prone to spilling things if I get too many jars on my station here. So I'm going to close those up, set those off to the side, and that's also going to give my ombre a little bit of a chance to set. So this way, when I do put my clear over the top of it, it's not going to smudge any of those colors or put any dents in those colors or move those colors where I don't want them. So at this point, I think we're good to go. So we'll grab our Speed Clear, and let me come in a little closer again for you. So now we're going to pick up a pretty good sized pearl. So I'm going to press out just a little bit of liquid out of my brush. We want a good sized pearl because we want to cap the whole surface of this nail. So I'm going to set that down right at my cuticle area. Lift up my brush. I'm going to angle the finger downward, and then I'm going to use just the point of my brush to really press out that cuticle area. But by angling that finger downward, it's going to allow that product to flow down the length of the nail rather than flowing down into my sidewalls. Once it stops moving, then I'll lift up, and then I'm just going to blend out the edge of that pearl. Now notice that I'm not pulling all the way from the back. I'm just blending out the edge of it. This is going to allow me to keep that arch right where I want it, right in that stress area. If I did bring my brush all the way back here and pull forward, that would blend out that arch and it would flatten out the nail. So by just blending out the edge of that pearl, that's going to taper down that product. We're going to add in another one, but it's still going to just be the start of our arch and our apex. Okay. Now we're going to take our second pearl. And this one is a little bit of a smaller pearl. I'm going to drain out just a little bit of the liquid. I turn my brush around and I'm going to set that pearl down, blend that back towards that arch. By blending back, this is going to also get my product to flow right up to that arch. And then I'll turn my brush back around, press that product out, and then blend, excuse me, blend that down to my free edge. I can use a little bit more pressure, press out that product if I need to, but then just gently blend all the way through. Again, I can turn my brush around if I need to blend any more product back towards that arch, back to that apex. And this is also going to help to thin and taper in that free edge so that I don't have a very thick free edge. Okay. Now at this point, I'm going to do just a quick check. I think I need just a tiny little bit more product right around my edge here, just enough to make sure that my color is capped. So I'm going to take just a very small pearl of that clear and just set that right down along that edge, just to make sure. And I think I'm going to do the same thing right through this side here. Again, just to make sure I have enough product to cap that color, because when I do my filing, I want to make sure that I'm not filing off any of my color. All right, I think we're good. Now at this point, we are going to let this nail set up. And we'll file the nail out, but I also want to show you another couple of products that are on a blowout deal for today for our sale that's going on right now. So these are going to be some really fun colors that you're going to love for the summer as well. So let me show you guys these really quick. And let me grab a tile here. All right. So this is just a little ceramic tile, but you guys, I'm going to show you some fun colors that we've got in our striping gel paints. And we're going to use these to accent our design here once we file it out. So the colors that are on sale are some really fun, bright colors for spring and summer. You guys, these are on a deal. I believe these are $5 each, which is a huge deal. I believe regular price is $10.95. So this is a great deal to jump on. So don't miss out on this one. And there's, let me see, 3, 6, 9, 10 different colors that we've got available on our blowout deals. So don't miss out on these. And the first one is called Juicer. And this one is a really fun fuchsia, a bright, bright neon-y pink. Now we do have another neon pink. Let me see if I can find that here. This one is called Momster. And this one is a bright, really bright neon pink. So if you're somebody who loves the neons, you are going to absolutely love these colors. So again, 2 of our bright neon colors. And then we've got Egg Yolk, which is another one of those sunshiny yellow colors. And again, going to be great for the summer because that's really bright, really sunshiny, great for those vacation nails. And we've got Hazard High, which is that bright neon orange. You guys don't look too long at these colors right up close and personal because they are so bright. They're gonna play tricks on your eyeballs, but they're super bright, super fun. And we've got our purple is acai. I think that's how you pronounce that. But again, kind of a neon-y purple. Absolutely beautiful. Almost a grape kind of a look. So I'm going to call that a grape purple. And we got Travel Agent, which is our, this to me looks like a sky blue, but almost a neon sky blue. So absolutely gorgeous color here. That beautiful sky blue. And then we've got our green is called Side of Veg. You guys all make sure to eat your veggies. But again, a bright, bright, bright green. And I was going to say it's kind of a grassy green, but that's definitely not a grassy green. That is, I don't know, that's a neon-y kind of a green. And then we've got Prayer Hands, which again is, this is a little bit more of a teal-y kind of a blue. Probably one of my favorite colors. I know you guys, if you've watched our live streams, you guys know that I love the teals. And again, on camera, it looks a little bit darker than what it does in person here. So kind of take note of that. All right, so we've got 4 colors. We've got 2 more left. We've got Caution Tape. And this is definitely that neon yellow. This is like the one that you see on on the traffic vests, those vests that people wear for safety vests, that really bright neon yellow. And last one we've got is Pet Therapy. So super fun, kind of a bright, I guess I should have put this one down here more with the pinks, but that's more of kind of a magenta color. So absolutely gorgeous colors here. Again, you guys, all of these different colors, each of these striper paints is on blowout deals for $5 each. So there's 10 different colors, so you do the math on that, but some really great striping colors for the summer. I think everybody's gonna love those for your designs. So let me set these back off to the side. We'll go ahead and file out our nail. And then we'll add just a little bit of a fun design at the end with some of those colors. So let me just grab our dust collector. I'm going to turn that on. And then I am going to start my filing. And I'm going to switch out my bits. So before we were using that sanding band, now when I take down my bulk, I want a little bit more, something that's going to have a little bit more kick to it. That's going to take down that product a little bit quicker. So I'm switching to my X-Cut Carbide. And the Carbide does have those teeth to it, so it's going to cut this product nice and easily. And I'm going to turn my e-file to about 14 to 15,000 RPMs. And we're going to start by just shaping up our sides. So I'm going to pull my bit straight down the left side. I'm going to just come right around that edge and then push straight back on my right side. So just straightening out our edges, making sure everything looks even from one side to the other. And then I'll turn that nail on the side view, and I'm going to push straight back to clean up that lower arch. Straight back to clean that lower arch so I don't have anything hanging on those edges. Same thing on the other side here. Now this side I don't really have a whole lot to straighten out, but if there is anything, then I can come right down that edge, straighten that edge out. Okay? We're going to come, let me readjust you guys here. There we go. We're going to come right up around that cuticle area to thin and taper our cuticle. And then I'm going to look from the side view. So from the view that you guys are seeing, this is exactly what I'm seeing. I'm going to start with my bit, and I'm going to work, let me show you really quick here. I'm going to work from the center of the nail down to that left side. I'm not coming all the way from side to side, just from that center down. Because when I'm looking from this view, if I try to come all the way from one side all the way over to the other side, chances are I'm not going to really be able to tell where my bit is. And a lot of times what can happen is you can bump that skin on the side, and that can cause that bit to wrap around, which could also potentially lead you to cutting your client. So you want to make sure that you're not going all the way from side to side. that you're just starting in the center and you're cleaning up that arch. So just working down the center of the nail, cutting in where that arch should be, so we're nice and thin and tapered at the cuticle, a little bit higher right through our stress area, and then tapering that down to the free edge. Okay? Once we have that, then we're going to look from straight down the barrel. So now you can see exactly where I've cut that arch. So all I need to do now is even this side out and this side out with what I've created down the center. So I'm just going to pull my bit straight down all the way through that left side, tapering that down, contouring that side. So now you can start to see that my product is getting a little bit more rounded rather than that boxy look. Okay, same thing on our right side. Pull that bit forward, taking down that bulk, rounding out our nail. And once we have that bulk taken down from both sides, then I like to come all the way through, all the way from my right side, all the way up and over, all the way down to my left side. So now you can see it's a lot more rounded over that surface, a lot more contoured, and again, less boxy. All right, I think I'm going to check this one more time from the side view. I usually go back to that side view one more time just to make sure that everything is in that proper contour and that shape that I want. Okay. Once we have that done, then I do switch back to my sanding band. So that same sanding band that we started our prep with, I like to use this now at about, I would say about 5,000 RPMs. Yeah, I would say probably 5,000 to 7,000 RPMs. And this I'm going to use right up around that cuticle area. This is going to help to thin out and taper that product right down to that natural nail so that there's no ledges or anything like that. Our product is nice and flush down to that natural nail. Okay, I'm just going to follow those same exact motions. So right down the arch, looking from the side, right down that arch, tapering everything, smoothing everything out. And once again, we're going to look from straight down the barrel and really making sure that everything is contoured as best as we possibly can. Now, I am going to go through with my hand file and I am going to really refine everything, but I always like to go through and file as much as I can with my electric file, because the electric file is going to be much easier on my hands and on my wrists and my shoulders than my hand file is. Now, when I go to my hand file, let me come back out here, I do have a brand new file. You always want to make sure that you're using an old file, and this is my prep file. I always just use this one just for prepping my files, but you want to make sure that you're using a file to take off those sharp edges of your new file. This way you're not going to cut your skin, you're not going to cut your client's skin, and it's going to have a nice smooth finish on there. Now, same thing on the other side. Always make sure that you go through both sides, kind of angle that just slightly so you're catching that corner right up there. Same thing on the other side, catch that corner, just to make sure, again, there's no rough edges. Now, we're going to basically go through the same areas that we did with our electric file. So sidewalls first. And I'm just going to straighten out my sidewalls here, round out my free edge just a little bit, taper that in, and then I'm going to turn that hand again on the side, making sure that my lower arches are nice and straight out. And same thing on the other side. Again, making sure my lower arches are nice and straight out. And then we'll come through and we'll contour all the way up and around that cuticle area, contouring down along those sides, and I'm rounding. I'm not just filing with my file flat, I'm actually using rounded motions, and this is what's really going to help to get that proper contour and proper shaping. So rounding around that cuticle area, same thing up and around those sides, and then I'm going to look one more time from the side view, and I'm just going to blend my file backwards. And I'm putting more of my pressure right at that free edge, and that's going to taper down that free edge and blend everything back up to my arch area so that I know everything is properly structured. I don't have a thick free edge. I have enough thickness right in my stress area for what I need. Okay, now the last thing I'm going to do, let me come back here, is I'm going to turn that client's hand around and I'm going to look at it from this direction. So you want to make sure that you do turn the client's hand around because you're going to have a different view from this angle. And I'm going to make sure that everything is nice and straight from this view and nice and tapered. Both sides are the same on from one side to the other, rounding out and perfecting my shape. And then I'm going to look backwards down the barrel of the nail and just float my file all the way from one side all the way up and over to the other side to really make sure everything is nice and smooth and contoured all the way through that surface. All right, I think we're looking good. One more check on that free edge. I actually think I'm taking off a little bit more of that white than I wanted at the free edge, but to get that proper shape, I think I needed to take just a little bit of that length off. But I think we're good from here. So at this point, we'll set our dust collector off to the side. And I'm going to grab my manicure brush. We're going to go through, we're going to dust off that nail, get that nice and clean, even underneath there, get that nice and clean. I'm going to do one last check right under my free edge just to make sure everything is the same on both sides. Make sure my lower arches are nice and even. All right, and I think we are good to go. So we're going to cleanse the nail. And again, we're going to use our swipe. So one more little bit of our swipe on the manicure brush. Dust through that again, brushing all the way through. Cleanse that off really well. Now, you could just do a top coat at this point, but we're going to use those striper gels. And we're going to add a couple of little, just quick, easy flowers on there. And you guys, you could, again, do your designs right over this layer, but I actually like to use a coat of our matte finish top coat. And I like the consistency or the texture of that when I'm doing my design work with these striper paints. For me, it just is, it's a little bit of a smoother, but a matte finish. So I know it kind of sounds awkward, but I am going to put one coat of our matte tack-free top coat on here. And we'll cure this fully, and that's going to give me a really good, a good texture to do my artwork on. I don't like to work over a shiny surface when I use these striper paints because I want to keep my lines nice and thin and nice and crisp. And if you work on a shiny surface, a lot of times what can happen is that shiny surface actually makes your colors, they kind of flow a little bit. So for this one, I am going to make sure that we've got this cured for a full 60 seconds. And then I'll show you guys what that matte finish looks like. So I think we're going to do just some really quick little dot daisies. And while that's curing, I'm going to show you a couple of easy techniques that's going to help you with these dot daisies. And let's see, what colors do we want to use? I think that one might be a little brighter than what I think. Okay, so I think I'm going to use Juicer. That's going to be one of our colors. And then, let's see, maybe, what one's this? Egg yolk. I think we'll do egg yolk. And I think I had Hazard High as my third color that I think we're going to use. So when you are doing these little dot daisy flowers, a couple of things you want to kind of keep in mind. And actually, you guys, let me get these right into camera so you can see. When you're using the striper gels, the striper paints, couple of little tricks. When you lift that brush out of the bottle, run that top part of the brush around the threads inside there. So this way, if there is any bulk of that polish on there, you're going to clean that off. You don't want a big, let me see if I can maybe over exaggerate this, but you don't want a big blob. You can kind of see there's going to be a big blob of that gel paint up on the handle. And if you're working with this, sometimes that blob is going to work its way down onto the brush and you can almost start to see it collecting on there. You don't want that extra paint running down those sides. So that's why I always recommend run that top part around the inside first. And then when you get to, let me see if I come in a little bit closer here. So when you get to here, your brush, that's where your brush is, run the top part of the brush around there, and that's also going to remove some of that extra paint from in there. And then you'll get a nice little, kind of a little drip right at the end of your brush. So that's what's going to help you to do your little dot daisies. Now this one's a little bit too much of a drip, so I'm going to dab just a little bit of that off. So when you're doing your dot daisies, I'm going to show you guys this on the tile here first, and then we'll do actually onto the nail. So how I like to do my dot daisies is I actually will turn my brush at a slight angle. So I'm not straight up and down, but just a slight angle so you can see how that little drop on the end of our brush is going to touch to the nail. Okay, and I think again it's a little bit too much. So again, we're going to drop down and we're going to set these down into a triangle. So I'm going to start with my first dot at the top of my triangle, my second dot to the left, my third dot to the right. So that's going to be the start. I'm going to maybe grab just a little bit more of that paint in there, and I'm going to fill in another dot just in between here, maybe a little bit larger, and then another dot on the other side. So that's really how we're going to lay out our petals, okay? And then you're going to put one dot right in your center point. So just a tiny little dot right in that center point. You're going to remove the excess paint from that striper so that you get a really nice fine point. And then you're going to pull all of those dots right to that center point. And again, I do start with those 3 larger dots. So that triangle that I created. So pull those 3 in, and then I connect those 2 little ones on the side. So just by laying these out in that order, that's how you're going to really be able to easily place those dots and place those petals. So let's go ahead and grab our nail here. All right, so let's see. I want a contrasting color, so I'm not going to use my pink up top. I think I'm actually going to use my pink down. Maybe I think I'm going to use my pink right in the center here. Actually, whoops, let me clean that off there. But you guys, you can see now that the nail is a nice matte finish. It's a smooth, almost velvety feel to it with that matte top coat on there. So again, this is going to give me a really nice, layer to work on. So let's see, I think, let's grab our orange. So the orange was Hazard High. I'm going to start with that one down on the free edge, on that, over that green area. So again, let me bring this into camera a little bit. There we go. So again, I'm going to run the top part of my brush around there, run the top of the bristles around there, and then leaving a little bit of that drip on there, maybe not quite so much. And then we'll come in, we'll start with our triangle. So again, our top dot, dab that top dot on there, our left dot, and our right dot, and then just one in between each of those. Now, I mean, you could just leave it just like this, and that would be totally fine. But again, we'll add one little dot right in the center, and then I'm going to wipe out all of that extra paint from my brush, make sure that's nice and tight to a point, and then I'm just going to pull right to the center of that flower. And again, starting with my triangle, and then I'll pull in those 2 little petals on the side. Now, you guys, at this point, I do also like to freeze my design into place because, again, these are gels, so they can move a little bit. So I want to make sure that they're not moving as I go on to my next part or my next petal. So I'm going to use our Touch Cure light. Let me see if I can come back out a little bit more. There we go. So you can see the Touch Cure light it's just a little pen light, and this is a really quick and easy way to freeze your designs into place. So you can just set those right into place for, I would say, maybe 10 seconds or so, just enough to where you would move on to the next nail. Okay. So again, let's come in a little closer here. And let's see, I think for this one, let's do that pink. So same thing we were doing before. Oops, let me come in there. We're going to run the brush around the top, run the top of the brush around the top, and then take out just a little bit of that extra paint. Maybe this one we'll put off to the side a little bit. And so again, we're going to do our triangle. So we've got 1 dot, 2 dots, 3 dots, and then fill in those 2 gaps. I'm going to wipe out that extra paint, bring my brush to a nice point, put my little center dot in as my guide, and then pull each of those petals into the center point. And just using just a little bit of pressure, barely even touching that paint, and just pulling into the center. You guys, these are kind of hippie looking petals here. You can adjust them, you can make them a little bit thicker, a little bit wider, however you want to create your flowers. You just kind of use this as a guideline. So again, using that triangle spacing and then that dot in the center to pull to that point. And again, we're going to use our touch cure light. We're going to freeze that into place. Whoops, a little bit longer on there. So again, maybe about 10 seconds or so, just enough to set that into place. And we'll do one more. And this one, I think we're going to use that, I think this was egg yolk, that really bright yellow. Again, run the top of the brush around, the top of the bristles around, and then take out just a little bit of that extra paint. Create your triangle, so a dot at the top, a dot to the left, a dot to the right, and then just filling in between those top 2. And again, take out some of that extra paint, give ourselves a little center point, bring in our dots right into the middle, that little triangle. And again, just pulling a little bit of that color as you go. Bringing each of those little ones in there. All right, I think we're good. Actually, I think I need just a little bit more right up into this one up here. Okay, I think that one looks good. And again, I'm going to set this one into place. You guys can see that one really kind of glows under the light here. But super fun for the summer and the spring. Some really fun bright colors here. And I think just as one more little accent, I'm going to grab, and you guys, this is our white striper paint. This is called T-shirt. This is not one that's on blowouts, but I am going to use this one just to give a little bit of an accent, or that little center to our little flowers here. So just a little white dot right in the middle on all of those. And I like using the white because I feel like it just gives a little bit of a bright accent rather than maybe using each of the colors again. But you could use the colors, you could mix and match those colors in there, whatever works for you and however you want to design those. But you guys, again, I apologize. I wasn't able to get my chat function working here, so I can't see the chat. But you guys, if you start the top coat chant in the chat, I'll catch it later. So go ahead and start the top coat chant in the chat. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, join our community. I'm going to top coat our nails with our Ultimate Finish top coat, and we'll seal these up. I mean, you could finish these with a matte top coat just like we have underneath, or whatever kind of top coat you're liking. But I think for this design, I really like the Ultimate Finish. You're going to see that really brighten up those glitters underneath, really show those beautiful colors. And this one is going to cure fully for 60 seconds in the light. It's going to leave us with a tack-free finish. I'm probably going to pop this into the light for maybe a quick 30 seconds or so, just so that you guys can see that final look. But if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, give us all the likes and all the love in the chat there. And you guys also make sure to jump over to youngnails.com. All of the striper paints that I used today are on a blowout deal. They are $5 each. And we also have the new acrylic colors here. These are as a bundle deal. And you guys, I apologize, I don't have the pricing off the top of my head on here, but these are beautiful new colors, new colored acrylics, and these are going to be great for the spring and summer. So again, make sure that you are curing that ultimate finish top coat for a full 60 seconds, but just so you guys can see the finished look, I did pull that out just a little bit early, but there is our fun, summery, springy, holiday, not holiday, but summery vacation nails. How about that? So you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our lesson. And again, make sure to subscribe and jump over to the website, youngnails.com, to find all of these fun products. Hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everybody.